Hello, welcome to this week's Talk for Strength. By now, I suppose people that are viewing us regular know what the whole Talk for Strength is about. It's encouraging men to come on here with interesting stories from different backgrounds, different environments. May have had the odd health issue, may have had the odd sadness issue, but we're encouraging people to come on here, have little chats, inspire others. And today, I'm very fortunate. I've got not only someone who I class as a friend, someone I look up to, I respect, and to me, his love for Arsenal is like one of these, the last knights or someone, these crusaders who make a decision in life that they're going to, be God and country. Well, he's decided to make a decision in life that he is pure Arsenal through and through. So today I've got John Williamson, probably Arsenal's number one. There's a couple of others that will say that they're Arsenal's number one, but in my opinion, this one is. So, John, South London boy. How does a South London boy decide to dedicate their life to following Arsenal all over the place?
First of all, Al, thanks for the great introduction, mate.
No problem.
Brilliant.
You can give me the money another time.
Yeah,
It was a
indeed.
Knights Templar I was thinking of. It was a Knights Templar. Someone who
Yes. Right. I was born in South London in 1960. Fortunately for me, my dad was born at the Angel in the 1920s. And after the war, he migrated to South London, met my mum, who wasn't my mum, obviously, at the time, and then had me. So through my father, I was brought up as an Arsenal fan basically from birth.
Excellent. Good man. He sounds like a good one.
Yes, he certainly was. Passed away many, many years ago, obviously, born in the 20s. So, worked out, he would have been God knows how old. But yes, 120 now or so. But yes, he
So
certainly was.
did you go over there with him then? Or did he take you over there and that's what started it?
My first game was I'm just trying to work it all out now, in 1969. Being a South Londoner, my dad was a season ticket holder at Arsenal. Let's step back a bit. It was West Stand upper, so he couldn't get me any tickets for then. But in 1969, he got me a ticket for Crystal Palace away in the Football League Division 1 then, which of course, where I am in South London, it was merely 5-6 miles from where I live and quite accessible by train. So I went there first of all. I was already an Arsenal fan. I had a replica kits, pennants, rosettes, all other sorts of memorabilia that my dad purchased. And then I went to that first game, really got the bug for it. And the following season, which was the first double year in 70-71, my dad took me to the first game of the season against Manchester United at Highbury, which we won 4-1. And the rest, as they say, is history, literally.
Yeah, definite. Yeah, very much so. I mean, I remember my first game. Was there a Terry Mancini played for Arsenal?
There certainly was, yes. That was a little bit
Yeah,
later, but yes, it was.
yeah. So it must have been what, 74? I must have been about 8, something
Yeah,
like
that'd have
that.
been about right. Yeah, well, you're younger than me, obviously.
Yeah. So I was born in 66, but yeah, all I remember is big gaze of bald head. So, and the
Yeah,
hair around the
yeah.
side. So
Yeah,
it's
not a
mad when
particularly
you look
good
at it.
player.
No. Well, I wouldn't have known it. It was just football, and coming from the archway, it was just a bus down the road. So
Of
right.
course.
So going forward, you had this start in life at that age. When did you start going over on your own?
Um, Off and on about 77, 78, when
Yeah,
I was 17, 18 years old. And odd games I went to beforehand, home games, but away
yeah,
games I started going firstly on my own then, and met other people who was on the same football specials as they were in them days. Not
mm,
not many of us travelling away. Um,
yeah.
and then meeting other friends or meeting people who became friends and moved on from there, really.
So you've made friends for life through Arsenal Football Club.
Absolutely, including your good self.
Yeah, yeah. I wish I'd known you longer. To be quite honest, it's strange, you know, when you meet certain people in your life at a certain stage, and you think would have been nice to have known people longer so we could have, you know, met up in other places. Because every time I've met you at away games or whatever, I've had a good time, and you know, with Mandy as well, you're a good lady. So and I've not met one of your, well, one person, as you know, from Dubai, but all the people you're linked to or in with are all good people, aren't they? You've chose well. When you sit with your group and I've come to a bar, wherever it may be, you've got a nice bunch of people around you, whether they're from Austria, you know, from whatever country they are. They're a nice bunch of people, which I always find nice.
Yes, that wasn't really done on purpose. It's just how you accumulate friends, you know, yourself through the sort
Yeah,
of Arsenal family or the football family in a wider
yeah,
context. And you pick up friends along the way, and friends become friends of other friends, and
yeah,
it grows. So there was no conscious effort to ensure they were good people, but a lot of the people I know that you know from, you know, the sports bar and other,
yeah,
the George previously, you know,
yeah,
some of them are wrong ones, but all good mates though, and all good people.
yeah. Some of them could start a fight in a telephone box, I think.
Absolutely, I'm sure they have.
So, what were the '70s like as an observer? You know, like the football was crap. There seemed, from what I hear, there was more stuff going on around the grounds and in other ends and all that stuff. As an observer, what was it like seeing that chaos, or was it nerve wracking going to football, or because you were someone who was not into that side of it, you never felt unsafe, or because I hear these stories about the North Bank and is it Johnny Foy and is it Johnny Foy?
Johnny Oy, yes, yeah.
Johnny Hoy, and all them sort of people, and it just sounds like it was just chaos every single week.
It was to a certain degree, but it was only home games was different, which is like when we played obviously Spurs, West Ham, Chelsea, Millwall when we played them in the cup. It was
Yeah,
absolute mayhem, and
yeah,
the North Bank was frequented by many of their fans, shall we say, and there was battles all over the place and around the streets as well. Away
yeah,
games slightly different. It was a siege mentality basically every away game. I can remember going to Wolves first time in mid 70s, 75 ish, around then, and the police escorted everyone. There's a infamous underpass just by the stadium, and the police basically dropped everyone off there, and they came in from everywhere. So in those days, even though I wasn't part of it, sometimes you have to defend yourself, otherwise you'd never go again. You know, it's
yeah,
just one of those things, and you know, we was no. Then you get to know other people, and it becomes more of a mob mentality, a siege mentality. I say, especially away games, home games different. You go into pubs, as you know yourself, sometimes when you get the teams I've already stated, fans try and you know come in and take over the pub, and it all
mm,
just again it all kicks off. But that was more sort of late '70s when I was more of a drinking age.
yeah. Do you think it stopped a lot of people from their love of football in the '70s? The
I
fear
would
of going
imagine
in
so, yes, because
there.
if you didn't sort of fight back or you let it get to you, you just wouldn't go, to be honest. I can only talk, obviously, for Arsenal and the grounds we used to go to. And I imagine
Mm,
at smaller clubs, it was probably worse, but I really don't know. But yes, I
mm,
would say definitely people were put off by it. But we had a different mentality then, different attitude.
yeah,
It's not like today where people are, need I say, more woke and, you know, any sign of trouble and, you know, they kind of move away from it completely. We didn't do that, especially away games. You just couldn't do it because otherwise,
yeah,
you know, you wouldn't be able to get to the stadium where, you know, for Molineux, for example. So you had to embrace it, fight it sometimes, and
Mm.
do what you had to do to survive.
Yeah. Well, it's good that people like yourself never got put off by it, because the memories you've got and the places you've travelled are, to me, they're out of this world. They're just, you know, Vietnam and places like that. But we come on to, you did go to Vietnam, didn't you?
Yes, I did indeed.
Yeah.
Wonderful
We come
place.
on to that in a minute. But if I can just, so we went as a club, we lost.
No, 71 2. We was in the European Cup, which is now the Champions League, obviously.
Yeah.
And we got knocked out in the quarterfinals by, I think it was Ajax from memory.
Yeah. And then we went round to 78 without anything. And
72, we played Leeds in the FA Cup final.
then we got 3 cup finals in a row and
Yeah,
Cup Winners' Cup, didn't we?
yeah,
Which was
indeed.
Ipswich, second division team,
Yeah,
then Man United, first division team, then West Ham, second division team. I take it you went to all 3 of these.
yes, I did indeed.
And what was the Ipswich experience like? Because I'm assuming, although for Arsenal fans it's great, it's an FA Cup final, for clubs like Ipswich, they must have been like Scotland when they qualify for a tournament after 22 years. It must have been a real good turnout from their point of view.
Yeah, Ipswich was a strange one because it was my first trip to Wembley to watch Arsenal. I'd been
Yeah,
there for sort of amateur cup finals, not many, but a couple of times. I may have been to an England game there by then. I can't remember, to be
yeah,
honest. But certainly my first time watching Arsenal there. Even though I was
mm,
disappointed because it is the first time now and I've never experienced getting that far in any
yeah,
competition. I can remember us coming second in the league in 72-3, where I went to quite a few of the games, including away games. But
yeah,
for Ipswich, it was, like it is any time for when, you get to a final, whether it's at Wembley, whether it's Cardiff
mm,
or wherever, it's a fabulous day out. And your first one, you always remember it, even though
yeah,
the game itself was crap. We deserved to lose, to be honest, but it
yeah,
still held good memories. I was disappointed at the time, but always thought,
mm,
wow, I want this again. And luckily, the
yeah,
following season we did.
yeah. And that one was the one that, I mean, we're fortunate to support a club that have got memories of extra special moments. I don't think the Man United game can really be beaten for an FA Cup final. Just like
No.
our Liverpool thing later on, which we'll talk about, and a few other games. But there's not many clubs that, I mean, what was we, 2-0 up, then
Yeah.
2-1, then 2-2. And as soon as we kicked off, what did it go over to Brady to Ricks or Ricks to Brady over? What you'd remember better than me, over to Sunderland.
Yeah, Brady to Ricks. Ricks was down the line, swung a cross in, and Alan Sunderland managed to get a leg on it or a foot on
So
it.
it went from complete Man United euphoria, right, and
Yeah,
us looking like we were knackered on the back foot, complete euphoria, to it being over again within God knows how many seconds it takes to take a kick-off, 3-4
uh,
passes, then over. And you were in amongst that lot, because I wasn't. I wasn't. I was 13. There's no way I could have got a ticket to go to that.
yeah. I was
What was
standing
that like?
behind the goal. Well, I was standing behind the goal, so in amongst it all,
Yeah,
from total sort of gutted desolation to euphoria in seconds.
yeah,
It was crazy, and it was just like they say about limbs. It was bodies everywhere. Everyone was
yeah,
jumping up and down. Um, the crash barriers at Wembley used to be good, so you didn't sway like you did at some stadiums back in the day
yeah,
when it was all standing. So you sort of held a position within an area,
yeah,
but it was the guy I was with. I can remember losing him as such, or he lost
yeah.
me, whatever way round it was. But yeah, it was amazing, amazing, absolutely.
And in them days, was it like you got, like nowadays we'll have the buds who can't get tickets go up there and they stay in the pubs all around and watch it on the telly. Was it like that in them days? Was there still
Um,
thousands outside the ground? Or
there was quite a few well, I don't know thousands, because Man United were always the big team who took
Yeah,
halls
exactly.
as well.
I was
So it's
thinking
probably,
Man United.
yeah, it's probably more Man United fans
Yeah,
around the grounds or around the stadium that didn't have tickets than Arsenal, because it's not
yeah,
far from Highbury. Most people stayed on the Manor if they didn't go.
yeah,
I can remember
yeah,
that day we used to drink in the old Plimsoll Arms, which is,
yeah.
well, I can't remember what it's called now, but we used to
Mm,
drink in the Plimsoll down Avenel Road,
yeah,
and we all went from there, sort of mobbed up. 7:30 in the morning we got there. Luckily, Andy, the
yeah,
governor,
yeah,
used to have a lock in beforehand, and before the days that you could drink early. And
yeah,
we went there mob handed, and the day was like fantastic. Everyone was half cut, to say the least. And
mm,
afterwards, it's as per normal Wembley. From what I remember, Man United fans obviously got out early. Most didn't want to see Arsenal lift a cup, which is
yeah,
understandable. And by the time
yeah,
Arsenal fans came out, most Man United fans had gone. There was still some around, but there wasn't the trouble like we've had in more subsequent years. Even with West Ham, it
yeah,
wasn't so bad. But
yeah,
later on, I'm sure we'll go into it a bit more. But completely different days then, even though there was trouble, but there was a lot of police around. Wembley wasn't like the Wembley of today. The old stadium, it didn't have all the bars and everything around it. There wasn't much there, to be
mm,
honest. It was like massive car
yeah,
parks.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then the following season, we're there again. So we're against another second division team that we were odds on to win. And my
Yeah.
biggest memory of that game was when that little Allen geezer went running off one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and Willie Young just fucking kicked him up in the air, didn't they?
Yeah. Willie
That
Young put in a
that was
great
absolutely
tackle.
brilliant. Yeah, great
Yeah,
tackle,
hacked him
nearly
down.
fucking killed him. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
how he never
absolutely
got
brilliant.
sent off.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
well,
nobody knows. Nobody knows, and it's
nowadays,
still a mystery
for a
today.
tackle
You
like
see
that,
it on TV, and you still
yeah, for
think,
a tackle like that nowadays, he'd end up in jail, wouldn't he? Or Donald Trump would have to get involved.
yeah,
But
absolutely, you would.
right, and then from
Yeah,
the West Ham game, we had we had Valencia away in
yep,
Belgium. So
yep.
we,
In
as a
Brussels, in
football
the old
club,
Heysel.
gone kind of eight barren years to having 4 finals in 3 seasons, of which we only won one. So
Yeah, which is
what
amazing in
experience
itself.
did you have with Valencia? Not with the fans. I mean the whole trip.
Um, oh, the whole trip was brilliant. We made our own way there, got the ferry on the Sunday,
Yeah,
and stayed until God knows when. Game was on a Wednesday. I think we might have come back on a Thursday. It was a brilliant experience to go abroad with so many thousands of Arsenal fans. I'd been abroad a few times by then with Arsenal, but once to the old East Germany, which we had two coach loads, basically about
mm,
100 fans in
yeah,
1978 in the 78-9 season, twice in the old Yugoslavia, which you could only fly over. All wonderful experiences with hardly any fans there. Again, 100 at both,
yeah,
probably at the most. And then when we played in that
mm,
run, there were some really really good trips, including a famous one in Gothenburg where we had thousands
mm,
out there, and a lot of Swedes supported Arsenal even back in
yeah,
them days, and wonderful experiences. But the final itself was the most I've ever seen at an away game for Arsenal, probably other than
mm,
FA Cup finals at Wembley, where
yeah.
literally we had the whole one end of the Heysel Stadium, not the
Mm,
end where the Liverpool fans,
yeah.
can I say, in my opinion, murdered the Juve
Yeah, no.
fans, but it was the
You know,
opposite
you
end.
know what my opinion is. I've got a flag
Indeed,
up
but
here
I
for
don't know,
Liverpool.
your podcast followers are so. But yes, we was
No,
the opposite end.
the thing is, I want these podcasts to go out. I mean, if I end up having a Liverpool supporter on here one day or an Everton supporter on here one day or whatever, we've all got our opinions. You know,
No,
my opinion
absolutely.
is the same as yours. They murdered innocent fans, and if someone wants to shout me down or have different opinions or put comments on YouTube under this, they can. We've all got our opinions. So yeah. Anyway, carry on. So your Heysel Stadium.
Yeah, brilliant trip. We was with people like Dino, Legsy, Johnny Dickinson, God rest his soul. All stayed in. I remember the Barry Hotel, which was quite near the centre. Well, it was near enough on the centre. We had some wonderful times there. Outside the ground, didn't really see much trouble at all. Arsenal fans down one end, which is where the famous fun park is, theme park.
Yeah.
And like, if you look at pictures, you can see the big wheel behind where the
Mm.
Arsenal fans are.
Yeah.
We was drinking. We had a great time. The game itself was absolute shit. You know, terrible game. 0-0 draw. They kept, well, both teams looked like they wanted the penalties. Mario Kempes missed a penalty. Graham
Yeah.
Ricks missed a penalty. Liam Brady
Really.
missed a penalty. You know, all the players you'd expect to score. And
Yeah.
in typical nowadays true Arsenal fashion, first game ever at European final went to penalties. In fact, I
Yeah.
think it's one of the first games ever that went to penalties. Devastated afterwards, but
Yeah.
when you're around like-minded people, you go out, get drunk, and the next
Yeah.
day we all got drunk again going home, and you know, you sort of brush it off. It's not like today, social media, unfortunately. You know, you don't get grief from other people. By the time you meet a mate at work, you know, a few days later, you know, it's completely different. You know, you don't get the grief like you do nowadays. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
live to fight another day.
And then moving on, I'm not going to talk about Luton or anything like that.
Yeah,
The next one was, to me, the best ending to any final, any season ever. You've got Arsenal Football Club travelling to Anfield and have to win 2-0 against the mighty, which they were, no two ways
yeah,
about
oh,
it,
absolutely.
the mighty Liverpool. What is the chances of going to Anfield? All the traffic beforehand, when there a delay, it was a Friday night. Everything
Yes,
was
yeah.
going wrong. Everything was going wrong. And we had to win 2-0. Tell me about that.
Well, I went up with my wife at the time, who one of my daughters was born then, like Lauren, the eldest one. We went up to stay with friends in Liverpool, and we had a great time there. We got there on the Thursday morning, I think it was, and stayed until the Monday. And the whole experience was pretty amazing, including Liverpool fans trying to, like, you know, get at me as well. I had the car parked in the car park just behind the stadium. The game itself was the greatest game of my life, arguably
Yeah.
the greatest moment of my life, and that's with children and grandchildren. You know, it was like, you know, it really was. You can't put it into anything else. It's nothing. I've never experienced it before. I'll never experience it again. You know, as you say, we're already, you know, even at 1-0 down with a few minutes to go. Really didn't think it was going to happen. Never thought it was going to happen beforehand. But we went up there and enjoyed ourselves. And in the end, it was, like I say, the greatest moment of my life.
It's one of them that when you think about it, or even this conversation, I can't stop smiling as you're talking. Just the thought of it. You know,
Uh,
people talk about Man City and QPR, and you're like, oh, fuck off. You know,
uh,
this because people forget there was a league before the Premier League, and now they talk about the greatest finish. The greatest finish to a league ever was
yeah,
1999. Ever. Simple as that. That's
yeah,
what it was about.
absolutely. And
So instead
afterwards,
of me, go on.
I was going to say afterwards, it was another story as well. Because I had the car so I could get back. My mate lived in Birkenhead. So,
Yeah,
and his wife worked in a boozer there. So we ended up, sorry, man, he's just offering me a cup of tea. So that's good.
hello,
So
man.
we, yeah, so went to this boozer in the middle of Birkenhead. And it's one of them pubs that's usually open till 1 o'clock in them days because people used to go to a nightclub. So I was in there, absolutely ran. I had my yellow and blue Arsenal shirt on, but because I knew it was going to be dodgy, I had a black shirt that I buttoned up so he couldn't see me. And the night went on, saw my mate in there. He gave me a hug, said congratulations, Liverpool fan. And like with a group, I was with a group of Scousers. Julie, my wife at the time, wasn't there. She was at home, Dave's house. So ended up drinking there till 5 in the morning, including at one time where, as I got more and more pissed, the buttons of my shirt I started undoing them, and someone saw it, come up to me and literally put his hand on my throat. And luckily, he had an Everton fan with him who won the league the season before or a couple of seasons before that, and told him to leave me alone because I'm enjoying it. You got to give him, he wants to enjoy himself, and basically he did, and he come to his senses from what I remember and apologised. But at that time, when he's got his hand around my throat, literally, the whole pub went quiet and turned around and looked at me. And I just thought, oh, fuck, here we go, I thought I was going to die. But then afterwards, when people knew I was Arsenal fan who were coming up and offering me congratulations, I say we drunk there till 5 in the morning. The governor, can't remember his name, who was a Leeds fan, kept the pub open. My mate's wife worked behind the bar. So we was drinking, and it was like crazy, absolutely crazy. Brilliant, no. Wonderful night.
It's a funny old place, Birkenhead, isn't it?
It is indeed, as rough as fuck.
Yeah, definitely.
It really is, the old Dockers and God knows what.
I stayed up there in a place called New Ferry once, and it was...
Oh, yeah, I know New Ferry.
Proper rough.
Yeah.
But mainly Everton, funny enough, mainly Everton fans.
Oh, right, so, yeah. But yeah, where my...
Instead of me asking you about particular games or whatever, if you want to talk through a few places you've been to and the journeys to get there, or anything, just talk us through some of the more memorable ones than others, because I know you've been everywhere. The people listening to this won't quite know that, but I think if you were to have a few minutes telling us where you've been, and your experiences, whether it was the journey, how difficult some of these places are to get to, and some of the great experiences you've had.
Yep. Well, I'll start with the furthest away. I've been to Australia to see Arsenal. We played a couple of games in Sydney 8 or 9 years ago, and that was a wonderful experience. We travelled on China Airways because it was the cheapest way of going there. And also after Sydney, we was going to China anyway, which had been my third time there, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. So we went via, I can't remember who it was, there's a hub there, a place I've not heard of in China. And then we got into Sydney, had a week there, watched 2 Arsenal games around the harbour, and it had just a wonderful, wonderful time. Sydney's an amazing place anyway. And the best thing of it all, their supporters club, the Arsenal supporters club, laid on a few things, and I knew a few people from there anyway. So we got invited and bought tickets for certain things that were going on. And one of them, the day of the last game in the morning, there was a boat that was taking us around the harbour. And I can't remember how much we paid. I think at the time it was about £30 or something or whatever it is in dollars, I can't remember. But what that entailed was Arsenal were excellent. So when we got there, the boat got there, I say there was about 300 people, and you think, how are we going to do this? We're not and this paid for drinks and everything as well, and thought this is going to be terrible trying to get a beer with this amount of people. When we got on there, it was amazing. I say Arsenal had Ray Park, he was the Arsenal sort of legend that was on the tour. They had the FA Cup. Yeah, they had the FA Cup. Gunnosaurus was there dressed up. And what they had is waiter and waitresses going round with bottles of beer. So you just drink your beer, put another one down, grab another one. Food as well in the same thing. So you could go to the bar to get draft beers, but if you wanted bottles, or they had some cocktails and other drinks, literally pick them up, put them down, and it was brilliant. The big big boat was on 3 different floors, and it was hot as you can imagine out there. So people were on
Yeah.
the top deck, and we had a great time. And
Mm.
going round Sydney, we went at Sydney Bridge, Sydney Harbour, all round the bay there, just going round and round and round. And it was like just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But then we played the last game, and then from there we went on to China. So I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 games we played out there. But the team couldn't take the Emirates plane to Australia because it wasn't allowed to go into China. You had to go
Yeah.
use China Airlines to go to China in them days. Don't know if it's still the
Yeah.
same now. And so when we got to Sydney airport the next day, lunchtime ish, the team were there. A few people I knew worked for the club, so chatting to them, spoke to a few of the players. I was quite amazed at how many Arsenal fans from England were out there. Some of the press were there, and it was really good talking to them. And then they got there, they had to get on a chartered flight, but chartered by themselves, and we just got regular flights to go into China. But yeah, amazing. But yeah, you refer like the best trip overall I had was, you've already said part of it, in Vietnam, when we went
Yeah.
to Indonesia, then from there to Vietnam, and then 2 games in Japan. What a trip! 3 countries that chances are I'll never go to again, and it was
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. But making your way to them, you've got to, the club don't put anything on, so you have to make your own way. And when you're looking at 4 countries and getting from from London into Indonesia, which is the first one. I can't remember if you flew direct, but God knows how many flights and different airlines. You can't use the same airline all the time because they just don't fly
Mm.
them sort of places. So moving round, but we got to each and every one of them and had a wonderful time. About 3 weeks away that was.
Yeah. Sounds brilliant.
Yeah,
I've always had the dream. I was expecting on my 60th I'd be in Japan, but obviously because of the state of me, I can't do that. But what was getting off the plane in a place like Japan and experiencing? I mean, because what we're talking about is football related, but football's 90 minutes.
yes, yeah.
Football is 90 minutes of your trip to Japan, or 2 games, 180 minutes. What was your experience to the big wide? I mean, where was you, Tokyo, or
Yes,
where was you
Tokyo
first?
for 1 game, and then
Yeah,
I can't remember where we was the second game, but yeah, where
yeah.
Grand Passat, and I can't remember where else he played, which is Wenger's old club we
Right.
got him from.
So you literally, you're in Tokyo. What is the initial first impression?
How hot it was, and it was stuffy. Tokyo is, because it's high rise everywhere. It's like
Yeah,
being in the middle of London, in the city,
yeah.
say, where all the high rise buildings are nowadays.
No air movement.
Stifling hot. You really
Yeah,
struggle to breathe, and just trying to find a hotel in them days. You didn't have Google Maps and things like
yeah,
that, so we knew the closest metro, and we decided to get a metro there because there's too many of us to get cabs, and we thought
yeah,
we got to experience the whole lot anyway. So, what's the point of getting cabs? We do that, other times, which we did, but getting to trying to find a hotel, all the experience, and when we got to our first hotel in Tokyo, and I think we was there for about 4 nights or something. There was sumo wrestlers who were in a hotel for a
yeah,
tournament, and they're treated like gods out there, absolute gods. And it was
yeah,
amazing. I can remember Jill Smith, who she used to work for Arsenal, grey-haired
yeah,
lady who any Arsenal fans on here would know her. She still goes to this day,
yeah,
and she had a picture taken with one, and he's like a big, muscular, fat bloke, twice the size and likes of us, and she's like dwarf-like, skinny,
yeah,
and just it was crazy, absolutely
yeah,
crazy. But then, yeah, when we got out into Tokyo, a brilliant city. We wasn't far from the
mm,
city, but we was near a metro stop, so we could move around as well. Brilliant
mm,
city, bars, everything going on as normal. We done sightseeing as well.
yeah,
Looked around, but I say stifling hot. because how close it was, and the heat was obviously a lot hotter. Well, probably like it is in London now. I don't know what it's like over there in Germany,
Yeah,
but it's ridiculously
yeah,
hot here at the moment.
yes, it's the same. We're in. I looked it up the other day. We're
Yeah.
in line where I am. We're in line with Colchester, so we're on
Oh, right.
that line of latitude, I think it is. So
Yes.
whatever you're
Yeah.
getting in, over in Essex or somewhere like that, we're getting here. So
Yeah.
same sort of thing.
But yeah,
Have you been
ridiculously
to?
hot.
Have we ever played in Cambodia?
No, we haven't, unfortunately. No, Vietnam was. Yeah, Vietnam. We played in Vietnam, which was before. Was that before Japan? Yes, it was before Japan. And at the time, Legsy was living in, Ian obviously was living in Singapore. He come over for the
Yeah,
games and met us, and we all hung round together. And great seeing him as ever. Um, and we had a great time in Hanoi. And
right.
after the game there, instead of going straight to Japan, because we had a few extra days, we decided to go to Ho Chi Minh, which is the capital.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
again, wonderful place, fascinating. We went to a war museum there. It was so
mm,
harrowing. They had pictures. I
yeah,
stopped Jill from going into one of the rooms that had people sort of bit like hung people, people being shot. It was all anti-American, naturally, because
yeah.
of you know the Vietnamese War and everything in the late
Mm.
'60s. So, but yeah, really interesting though. Really interesting.
They've still got the tunnels, haven't they? That you could, if you could fit, you could have a look down. But that to me,
Yes,
I
that's
couldn't
right.
imagine.
Yes.
Couldn't imagine what that would be like.
Yeah. Oh, Vietnam in those days, God, it must have been horrendous. Well, you hear all the
Yeah,
horror stories of Americans coming back after the war or during the war and having, mental health problems, which is obviously what we're going to discuss as well. I can't imagine what they've gone through there. Starkly hot in the jungle as well, a lot of it, where the fighting
yeah.
took place. Crazy.
So I'm gonna go one last one really, um, two really. One of them is the Azerbaijan journey. Did you have to do what some of the others had to do, like fly to Turkey or into, is it Iraq or something, and get buses down, or was yours relatively simple compared to others?
I didn't actually go to the final because that's when I was recovering from my heart
Ah, right.
problems. But I did go there. I did go there in the group stage where there wasn't so many of us, and because
Right.
there wasn't many flying, it was I can't remember where we changed, but we changed somewhere in Western Europe to fly direct there to
Right.
Baku, and it was, from what I hear, a completely different experience. But yeah, unfortunately, that's the only cup final I missed since sort
Right.
of
Well, that
'72.
kind of leads us on perfectly, then, doesn't it, to our trip to Dubai?
Yes,
And I didn't even plan that. I didn't know that you didn't go. So this has worked out a nice little link. We've done well there, John. Um, you and I went to Dubai for the opening of I don't know, Al Rashid or whatever stadium,
yes,
and Arsenal were invited as part of the Emirates thing, was it? I believe
yes, yeah,
to play in a match in this new stadium against Dubai's biggest team, I would imagine.
yeah. I
And we
can't
went
remember who
out
it
there.
was.
Yeah, we went out there, and John was very very quiet, wasn't you, John? Very very quiet. We we went to this Irish bar with Colin. We got our fish and chips. You weren't eating.
Oh, it's
We
gone
went to the
again.
football. We go to the football. Next morning, from my memory, you don't resurface. We're all sitting up on the top deck of the hotel and around the swimming pool. We don't see John. Um, can you talk us through it from there, mate?
Well, it actually started before that, like getting to the airport, going.
Right.
I was really sort of drowsy. I didn't realise what I was going through, and when we got to the hotel, even on the flight, got to the hotel, and I just wanted to lie down and sleep, which is unlike me. And then when we saw you, as you say, we went there, and I stayed in the room for about 3 of the 4 days. The only time I went out was when we had the meal, and when we was there, I went out because I had to eat, and I felt tired, I felt sick, I felt lethargic, and halfway through the meal, which obviously you recall, I had to say I've got to go back, and got in a taxi and went back, and just felt really, really rough, not knowing what was wrong with me or anything. And then I think that was the day before the game. It may have been, and then we was on, and then we was on the rooftop, and then you and Colin said you're going to go into the main part shopping or whatever you was up to, and I said I can't really do it. I'll see you at the stadium. So literally, I went, lied down, set my alarm, and got a taxi to the stadium. And even then, in the grounds, I was like feeling really, really rough. But because I wanted to watch the game, gone all that way, me being stubborn, so and so as well, watched the game. And then the next day, I was with Jill Smith again, flying back, and felt sick and felt really ill. And when I got back into London, basically tried to find a doctor. And at the time, I moved in with Mandy when I retired, so probably about six years beforehand, but never ever had a doctor. Typical man, my doctor was still in Kent, never needed a doctor. So basically went round to NHS local doctor. They wouldn't do anything for me because, I wasn't signed up to them. Against the grain, ended up going to a private doctor a couple of days later because I was deteriorating. Private doctor, give me the once over, basically said, you've got to go to hospital now. I'm going to write you a letter. You're going straight to hospital. Don't bother going home to get changed or pack a bag or anything. Mandy drove me straight to hospital. We went to A&E, and then I spent actually 3 weeks in hospital where they were testing me to find out what was actually wrong. And eventually they found out and calmed things down as well. And I had a leaky valve, which is basically one of the tubes that connects to the heart. There's a valve there, and it was described to me like a Mercedes-Benz sort of three lines, and one of them had split. So blood was flowing down into my sort of stomach area, but not able to come back up. So all the blood was draining slowly, but they eventually found out what was wrong, got it under control, and then sent me home. And a nurse came every day. So I was on a drip every day with a nurse, and then on tablets. And then I think it was about 3 months later, so it wasn't deemed an emergency then. 3 months later, I got an appointment to go into hospital to have open heart surgery, basically, which is, the most scariest thing I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, I can imagine. So for that 3 months, was you what was your head like? Was you thinking at any minute that'd be me done? Or did you catastrophize a little bit, or was you fine?
No, I felt like that when I was in hospital because it's the unknown, not knowing what was wrong with me originally in hospital. So I was like concerned then, and I felt so much better once they diagnosed what the issue was, and I was on drips and then tablets to calm me blood down. I'm still on them now to this day, and because I felt better, I wasn't so anxious because I knew I had to wait for my hospital appointment to have open heart surgery. Once I had that and had to go up and meet my consultant 3 weeks beforehand or whenever it was, that's when it sort of really hit home. And, he told me and I have to say it because of health and safety and all that and being sued, but it said, you've got a 96% chance of surviving it, basically, or whatever it was. And that's when, my face drained, went white. Mandy looked at me, I looked at her. Because, I just didn't expect that. Because I haven't been in hospital for donkey's years. And to be, you flip it around and you think, there's a 4%, 5% chance that I won't make it, whatever it
Yeah.
was. I can't remember.
And did that become all you thought about, the 4%?
Yes, I was very, the anxiety was there. I was very anxious. I knew I had 3 weeks before I was going into hospital, so I tried. I'm pretty good with like my mental state. I tried not to think about it too much. I was
Mm.
thinking more of, enjoying my life,
Yeah.
because I know at the end of it, the end could be close, and it did cross my mind. But I try not to. I try to blank things out, which is what I
Yeah.
do quite often. Whether that's good, bad, or indifferent, I don't know.
No,
But
that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
yeah, the
That's very good.
anxiety really came when it was like leading up to it, and I had to
Mm.
focus on it, pack a bag, knowing I was going to be in hospital for a couple of weeks, have the surgery, the rehab, because I've still got a nice big scar down my chest, probably not quite where your zip is on your tracksuit top there, but
Yeah.
halfway down, to
Yeah.
my navel basically,
Yeah.
and all the everything as you experience yourself, all the tubes
Mm.
coming out of every
Yeah.
sort of orifice, and just to be able to breathe, to be able to
Mm.
wee and shit, and everything else. It was
Yeah.
it was tough times, but I know
So,
people have gone through worse.
how long did that keep you away from your beloved Arsenal then? I bet you know exactly how many games you missed and what games they were.
I missed in that first period about 10 games,
Yeah.
um, including 3 in Europe, uh, quarter-final, semi-final, and final of the UEFA Cup, or Europa League, as it
Yeah.
is now. Just trying to think, but obviously because of the season ended after that, a lot of
Mm.
I was, we could have been a lot longer, but it wasn't, because I was going into the closed season then, where I was
Mm.
able to uh, go for long walks,
Mm.
um, build my strength back up. It was like pigeon steps at times, and then just build it
Yeah.
up gradually. And where I
Mm.
live, there's quite a big area where I can walk around. So,
Yeah.
I was building up my strength. I was still having, doctors and nurses, and going to the hospital, going to see my
Mm.
doctor, and they give me confidence as well. But being
Yeah.
over, the actual open heart surgery was the main thing.
Yeah. Scale.
Oh, well, the year after that, we had COVID. So that was not a scare personally for me, but a scare for everyone.
Yeah.
Um, I was grateful that, hindsight and everything else, if COVID had happened 12 months previous,
Yeah.
when I was in hospital, and everything, the horror stories that went with it,
Yeah.
anything could have happened to me. Really, really could. So I was grateful that COVID happened a year after. I wasn't particularly happy with COVID, but
Yeah.
then that wasn't, that was what everyone was going through. And the good thing is, I was able to still do my walks
Yeah.
and my rehab, and there wasn't many people on the streets. So I was
Yeah.
able to do that. There was hardly anyone. Sometimes I walked 2-3 miles a day and
Yeah.
hardly saw a soul around. So that was quite good, because then I could, think about things in my mind, not have to look out for people,
Yeah.
giving me COVID or me giving them, walking around with a
Yeah.
mask, obviously, as one had
Yeah.
to do at the time. And that helped, that helped me. That helped my brain as well, because my physical and mental side, because I was able to get fit and think about things as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was, it was a good time to have COVID, if there was for me personally, even though it wasn't
Yeah.
for, the rest of the world.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
after that, I got better. And because I had my open heart surgery, I'm just looking at dates now. Year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I had to give a stool sample, so a sample of my poo basically,
Yeah.
to do in my heart, and they checked through it and found a trace of blood in it. something I
Mm.
couldn't see, but it was there, like a minute trace. So they called me in and went through the whole process, and then found out I had cancer of the colon.
Okay.
So that was more anxious, to be honest,
Yeah.
because cancer in the past has been basically a death sentence to most people, and I lost my mum to cancer at an older age, fortunately, and
Okay.
lots of people I know, including friends and family. So that hit home harder for me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So once I knew it was cancer, you feel the worst.
Yeah.
Like, well, I certainly did, and I know talking to other people, they did as well. So going through all that again and having to miss football, not being able to travel, not being able to see my family,
Mm.
that was hard work, but
Mm.
managed to get through it again.
Me and you had a conversation a couple of few years ago about
Yes,
I
yeah,
was at that stage where I couldn't cope anymore. Colon had
yeah,
packed up on me, and I was going to have a colostomy. And you gave me some little bit of advice about it and all that stuff. What was your experience with something like that? I mean, as as far as the colon cancer is concerned, what do they do? Cut a bit out of it?
yes,
Do they cut the cancer away and then re-sew the colon or something,
yeah,
return it?
basically, yes. And obviously, I couldn't use the colon then, which is
Yeah,
hence the reason I had the colostomy bag, and I had that in
yeah,
like as part of the surgery in December.
yeah,
So when I come round, it was there.
yeah,
Not really sure what to do with it, but then there's stoma nurses that are
yeah,
at the hospital on site and come and
mm,
saw me, explained how to change it, clean it, clean the actual stoma itself,
yeah, yeah,
and everything else around it. So
mm,
found out about that. It wasn't easy, but while I was still in hospital, the nurses changed it, but they showed me, what to do when we go home, and I couldn't go home until I knew how to change it myself.
yeah.
So
It's
that was hard work.
I mean, I'm on a stoma group, obviously,
Yeah,
and I try and calm people down with, when people wake up and they've got a stoma, then they join these groups. It's like their world's ended. Um, but
yeah,
ultimately, they've got stomas because it saves their lives.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
would you do
Yeah,
you want to have a be anxious and moan? Not moan. They're entitled to moan when you wake up and you've got a bag stuck to you. But I try and calm them down as best I can because I'm on the
yes.
positive side of the stoma. But how long did you have your stoma for, John?
Well, I had it first. Like, the operation was in December, and I was told it was going to be removed around March, and it was
Yeah.
actually instead of 4 months, it was over a year. It was nearly 16 months when I had it removed. So I had it a hell of a long time.
What was it like? I mean, from my point of view, it's exhausting having a stoma. It's exhausting because it takes an
Yes,
onus of the
yeah,
process. The night times you're worried about whether it's going to pop on you. There's all that sort of anxiety, but
yeah,
taken away from there, what was it like
yeah.
when you plucked up the courage to go out for the first time, to actually leave the house for a few hours? What was it like when you first went out of the house for a few hours? When you plucked up, you made a decision you were going to go out. It was going to be for a few hours. So you had your bag of supplies, yeah, which I'm sure you did. Um, Mentally, what was that like for you?
It was hard going, really hard going. I started off again doing small walks. Where I live, we live in flats, but in a private estate, and able to walk, do a small walk around, and still be within 2 minutes of home. So if like something went wrong, I could bell Mandy basically, and she could be with me in a couple of minutes. So I've done small
Yeah.
walks around rather than long walks distance wise, and
Mm.
then coming back, and then built it up, built it up, built it up. It was hard going first of all, because you've got something there that, as you know yourself, all of a sudden you like poo could come out of it, not out of it but into the bag. It's a
Mm.
unnatural sort of process for you, so it's something it takes a long time to get used to. It's
Yeah.
kind of strange feeling, but sometimes after a while I got used to it, other
Mm.
than having to change it and pooing through it and things like that. I forgot it was there. I
Yeah.
was able to wear clothes, jogging bottoms, and I had long johns that were cut so I could
Mm.
cover it right over, so
Yeah.
stop too much movement, which is one of the key things, as well as it's stuck down. And sometimes I could forget it was there for a while, not for long
Yeah.
periods of time, but I
Yeah.
was able to, do different things. I think for the hardest part of it was having to change my diet. As you know, again,
Yeah.
you can't eat anything that is going to clog up, basically, your colon going down to where the
Mm.
stoma is.
Yeah.
So I love nuts and things like that, but you couldn't eat anything like that. Most
Mm.
fruits you can't eat. Anything with seeds, pips, anything that takes a while to digest. Most vegetables couldn't eat. The only things I could eat that were good for me was melon without the pips, without the seeds in it, because
Yeah.
it's fresh there and you can actually
Yeah.
eat it. And mushy peas, because you can't eat normal peas, as everything's got a skin on, basically,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can't. Couldn't eat red meat, and I very rarely eat red meat now because that's something that doesn't digest as easy. So
Mm.
I was eating a lot of chicken. I love seafood anyway, so a lot of things like smoked salmon,
Mm.
fish, making sure there was no bones, so it was like filleted, things like fish. Couldn't eat even chips and things, mashed potato. It was sort of food that broke down easily, basically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, you get used to that after eating it for so long. Like I say, I'm still eat a lot of chicken now and don't eat red meat, or very rarely I might have a burger or a bit of steak just as a treat. But I make sure I chew it lots in my mouth, break it down,
Yeah.
because it does clog. And my stomach, because it was a bit was cut out, it became like a funnel. The wider bit goes into a
Yeah.
narrower bit, and
Yeah.
the natural process was cut. It went through, so it's completely alien.
So what was the process then? They told you that they've cut it out. It's been a success. You're now cancer free, and
Hmm.
we're going to book you in for a reversal, stoma reversal, so you go back to normal.
Yes. Um, Obviously pleased when I heard that, because after a year and a third roughly, it was getting to me just having it, but I knew it was there for a reason. So I knew the longer I had it on me, the better my innards were, being like my colon was being fused together,
Yeah.
and it was making me better. And when I had the reversal, it was actually quite a simple process, even though I was in hospital for a couple of days. Because again, it's they cut it out. Yourself, it's quite a small gap where they in your body, and once it's done, it's closed up, it's sewn up, um, and then you have to go back every couple of days just to make sure that the healing process is working and go through. But yeah, once it was done, it was such a relief. But going to the toilet naturally wasn't easy,
Mm.
because you still got it. You can't strain yourself, so you have to hold, because you don't want stitches to come
Yeah.
undone, things like that. You still got to be careful with what you eat. And I was eating sort of the mashed potato and the bits of chicken for quite some time. And it's only
Yeah.
one day when I went back and they said, "Oh no, you can start eating normally now." And I thought, "Oh, great," you know. But even then, I was still careful for quite a while, just in case, worried that something's going to happen. Going to the toilet, number twos, it wasn't easy going to
Yeah.
poo, because it's all coming back through through your intestines and his stomach and everything else. So a bit of it hadn't been used for such a long time. So it was a strange thing, but
Yeah.
a relief.
So just briefly with this one then, from the mental aspect of all that you've been through, open heart surgery, tumour being cut out of your colon, um, stoma, having the stoma reversed, getting used to that. Um, when people go through these sort of things, is there any sort of you sound very strong with the way you've said you think about things, you go for your walks and all that stuff. What advice, if any, and I don't want to put this on you, but would you give to someone that's struggling a little bit, whatever the reason? It may be because of surgery, it may be because of many different things that we don't understand. Is there any sort of advice you could give about putting things in compartments, trying to keep them, you know, not letting them take over, not catastrophizing? Or
The best advice for me personally was the hospital on both, whether it's the heart surgery or the cancer, give you a lot of information, written information. The
yeah,
first thing you do is don't look it up on the internet because there's so
yes,
much misinformation now, as
yeah,
you well know.
yeah,
Read what the hospital say or the doctors say. They give you a lot of printed information. Read
yeah,
up on it, understand what you're doing, listen to what they say. If they say don't overdo things, or or start, afterwards start walking again gradually, do what they say. Take heed. Don't try
yeah,
and rush into things.
yeah,
Mentally, I'm lucky because I am strong, and I appreciate it. It's horses for courses. It's not the same for everybody.
yeah,
I was able to work it out myself. I was lucky with Mandy, Mandy, but my other half, my partner, she was a nurse in a former life, so she
mm,
was able to help me with a stoma. She was able to keep me sane as well from a professional, even though she's not a nurse anymore, but from a professional point of view.
yeah.
Um,
I think that's a massive thing, John. If people have got partners, I think we we tend to forget that they're going through it like we're
excuse
going
me.
through it because they care about us.
Mm,
We do tend to forget that, and I think if you've got a good partner, you're halfway there when it comes to keeping yourself. But there's a lot of people out there that haven't. So that's what I want to try and advise people on. Not I'm not a doctor, obviously, but I just want to be encouraging people to stay strong and
yeah,
talk to people.
that
You
is
know,
the thing. That
a
is the
lot.
key.
Yeah, it's just sometimes it's just having 5 minutes with someone that's listening, not someone who
Yeah,
says, oh, I'm here for you, mate. Then as soon as they start talking, they start talking about something else and comparing.
yeah,
It's a matter of trying to find the right person that will listen to you, and you would not believe how much of a cloud lifts off you. This is how I feel
yeah.
anyway when I've spoken to people, um, and that's what I encourage people to do is try and find a bit of help. Um, your story has been a hell of a bastard story, but lucky enough, you are a strong person, really, really strong.
Hmm.
I've got nothing but admiration for you. Um,
Cheers, mate.
I think the thing with yours as well is, which is slightly different to mine. Yours was, I'm going to fight this to get better. Mine
Yes, yeah.
is, I can't. I'm not going to get better. So
No.
I've got the head thing of getting used to it. So it's. I mean, I'm 4 years in now, and if you said to me tomorrow, for instance, this is a perfect example. The Dover Gooners do every November,
Yeah,
right? I book to go to that every November.
yeah,
And if you said to me today at the end of this when we're on a private bit afterwards, I tell you what, Al, me and Mandy have been together so many years. We're gonna have a bit of a party. Do you want to come over? When I say yes to you, I 150,000% mean yes, I'm coming, right? And nearer and nearer and nearer to the event, my bottle starts going, right? And I start thinking,
Yeah.
I've got to drive 6 hours to the boat. Then I get on the boat. Say the stoner packs up. Say I'm tired. Say this. Say that. Say this. I actually cancel more things than I attend. You know what I mean? That's what happens. But my brain is.
Oh,
I cancel more things than I attend. Sadly, but every time I say yes to it, I genuinely mean it. So
yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that goes on in my head. The good thing that I believe you've got, other than Mandy and the fact that you've been strong enough to fight the physical side of it, you've got your football, you've got your people, you've always got something to look forward to, haven't you?
Yeah.
And I think this is what I talk to people about. As far as I see it, I need in bite-sized chunks things to look forward to. And
Yeah.
I think that's what people need to do. People need to, anything you like, you've got to try and do. Instead
Yeah.
of having that cloud over your head and saying, oh, I don't fancy it. Try and one day shrug that off just for one day and go and do what
Hmm.
you enjoy doing. And
Yeah.
it'll bring back so many good memories of how much fun you've had doing it. So,
Yeah.
and that's what these little podcasts are about, is trying to get people to embrace what they've got instead of being sad about things that may never happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
And
excellent.
by doing these podcasts, having someone like yourself that's been through it, not just once, but two separate things that would normally finish someone, I hope people take real notice of this, that John Williamson is still travelling all around the world, watching his beloved football club. Not just the men's team, I say. He follows the
Yeah.
women's team. He goes to the youth games. In my opinion, I think the geezer needs psychiatric treatment, but that's neither here nor there. He's a little
You've
bit
always
too
said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know I'm not the first person, but all I can do, John, is thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. Thank you very much for being honest and open, and I wish you all the best health for the future, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you for having me, Al. Much appreciated. And you're doing a wonderful job, my friend. You really,
Thank
really
you.
are helping other people. I see what you
Cheers, mate.
do, and it's great. Anyway, we'll
Cheers.
catch up soon.
Yeah, no worries. Thank
Cheers,
you.
matey.
Bye bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.